This device isn't a spaceship. It's a time machine. Goes backwards, forwards. It takes us to a place where we ache to go again. It's not called the wheel. It's called the carousel.
It was the best time of our lives.
Okay, hello. Sorry, it's been a little while once again. Since I last recorded here, finally figured out my camera again, so I don't look like quite such a fat salamander, pale salamander. Solo today, just wanted to get one out. I'm supposedly recording with Oren McIntyre tomorrow, which is exciting. I also want to do one with Dave Green coming up. But today I wanted to talk about the MAGA Civil War and all the propaganda going back and forth between the plan trusters on the one hand and the, as somebody called them, hardliners on the other side. So we'll describe what those are in a second. I got a comment on Substack that really started getting me thinking about this, that we'll get into in a second, about these billboards, these hot pink billboards that are Jew belong billboards. And I think this sort of gets us into the propaganda elements of what people are reacting to so forcefully in light of the Iran war, in light of everything that's been going on. But I want to start with leading into this with a scene from one of my favorite movies ever, which is called The Square. So The Square is by Ruben Östlund, who's I want to say, Danish filmmaker. And he's known for being kind of a clown, not a clown, but a satirist who satirizes a lot of the ridiculous elements of contemporary life. He did a great movie called Force Majeure, where the dad sort of doesn't protect the family at the key moment during an avalanche. And then the rest of the movie is dealing with the fact that the dad wasn't there in the manly way that he was supposed to be. It's sort of a send up of the whole family expectations. Really good movie. He did a movie called Triangle of Sadness more recently that was sort of a making fun of rich people from a kind of communist-y point of view, but a very, very well done. And also kind of mocking, actually pretty based, if I remember correctly, in its mocking of communists themselves. I think it ends in a base fashion, if I remember correctly, with like the notion of communism being sort of mocked in a deep sense. And then my favorite movie of his by far is called The Square. And The Square is his second movie, and it's a send up of the art world. A lot of these guys, when they first start getting famous, they do a movie making fun of the art world because the art world is so completely ridiculous and so completely stupid. And so he did The Square, which is a send up of the art world and the marketing world. So, sorry. In it, there's this art exhibit, which is a square that's drawn on the ground. And the square drawn on the ground is supposed to be like a free zone where everybody has equal rights just inside this little square. And they do a marketing campaign for the art exhibit. So this is where he gets into skewering like the branding world, my world, like the marketing and branding world of things. And there's an incredible scene where the really annoying marketing firm suggests doing an ice bucket challenge. So let me just play this, and I'm going to have to read it as it's happening because it's in Danish. So I'll read the subtitles and sort of describe what's going on for people who are listening, but other people can watch this on the video version.
Jag tog upp en sak som jag har tänkt lite på Man skulle kunna använda sig av det här
So how about something like that?
som var för några år sedan, Ice Bucket Challenge.
So she's saying, yeah, that's a good idea. What was the Ice Bucket Challenge?
Det var en
It was a viral success.
Och liksom
where
det
ordinary
var
people or
egentligen
celebrities
man
filmed
filmade,
themselves
sig själv. Det kunde vara liksom vanliga människor, men även kändisar som
getting buckets of ice water
filmade sig själva
poured all
när de
over
fick massa
them.
iskallt vatten över sig. Och den blev så viral.
Den blev så jävla hypad.
Vad sa du?
Den blev så jävla hypad.
It was huge. It was all over the place. But sure, well, what was the point of it
Den var
all?
typ inte för någonting.
There was no point. And here we have a hype dad holding a baby in the room.
var för ALS.
It was to promote ALS
och den
research.
tog in
It generated
1 miljard
1 billion
till det.
kronor.
Så att i vår värld en väldigt framgångsrik kampanj. Men det är inte konstruktivt för oss att tänka på det sättet.
It was a very successful campaign, but it wouldn't be viable here. Okay, so then this is just a hilarious example of what it's like to be in those rooms, which I have been many times. And then we have the actual campaign that they go with to promote the square. So we see a baby sobbing and crying by themselves, and there's a countdown happening. So 10, 9. Baby is still crying. He has a kitten also. 9, 8. How much humanity does it take before we access your humanity? And then the countdown goes down 5. We have the kid running in the square. Oh, he's a poor, impoverished kid holding a kitten. And then clock runs out too quickly. And the baby completely explodes with the kitten. And then there's Arabic text and Hebrew text.
These people must die in hell. If I meet them on the street, I will punch them in their face.
And then here's the marketing agency taking the viral reaction. And they're just laughing, basically. Okay, the marketing agency is then laughing at all of the people of the world's reaction, being like, we're going to kill the marketing agency who blew up this baby, but we don't care because the whole thing went very, very viral. So I would highly recommend this movie. It's also the movie where the guy dressed is like a monkey, and he goes around to like a bunch of rich people at a thing, and he starts attacking them, and the rich people love it. He's really good on like class signals and stupid sort of signals from the world of the elites. So anyway, the point of all that is to say that the world of marketing in today, the world of propaganda in general, is dictated. This is the most obvious thing in the world, but it's dictated by the overwhelming constant desire to go viral. And really under any means necessary. I remember I was in so many rooms. I pitched myself several ice bucket challenge type ideas up the food chain, because at that age, every single meeting you would have, that's why that's so true to life. Every single meeting you'd have with a client in those days, you would hear, well, can we do something like the ice bucket challenge? Because it was just this naturally viral thing that wasn't done, by the way, by any brand. It was just sort of a naturally occurring thing. It might have been sparked by the ALS Foundation or something, but everybody did it. Everybody loved doing it because it fed into people's narcissism. They wanted to show they were helping. They wanted to do this difficult thing on camera, but not too difficult. It allowed them to record themselves and made them feel good. It was the perfect narcissistic charity NGO program for our world. And everybody tried to replicate it. Nobody ever really did. But the bottom line is what the movie is attempting to show in The Square is that it doesn't matter really at the end of the day how completely ridiculous what you're doing is. If it sells, the people that make it are happy, even if you're killing children, right? So interestingly, it's called The Square. And later on, there were 2 squares that come to mind. There were 3, actually, that were used for viral marketing. One was the orange square, used to promote the disaster of that happened on the island. What was it called? The Flame Island. I can't remember. What was this called? Sorry. It was, oh my God. No, what was it? Sorry. There was an orange square that was used to promote this disaster, Firefest. There was a disastrous festival called Firefest, and they used this cool thing where a bunch of celebrities just posted a blank orange square on their social media. And it worked really, really well because it was very mysterious. People didn't know what they were talking about. And then Black Lives Matter, of course, there was a black square where everybody on that day posted a square that was a black square showing that they were on the side of Black Lives Matter, which turned out later on, of course, to be a complete clown show and not serious at all. And all the money got taken and et cetera. So again, these are sort of narcissistic things, hiding the ball. And then most recently, we had the Robert Kraft, the owner of the Patriots. He did an anti-Semitism campaign that went live on the Super Bowl, and everybody saw the ad, and everybody super cringed at it because it was like a black guy and a Jew walking down the hallway in the high school, and the Jew was being made fun of, and the black guy comes to his defense, and he puts an orange or a blue square on his backpack to show that he's an ally against anti-Semitism. And this was supposed to, I suppose, spread the viral behavior like the Ice Bucket Challenge of Semites, non-Jews against anti-Semitism, putting blue squares on things or posting it on their profile to show their allyship with the Jewish race, which is a victim of everybody. And needless to say, this ad got utterly mocked by everybody, both super Zionists and non-Zionists. Like, not one single person in the entire universe posted a blue square. So that should show you the effectiveness of that campaign. And you have to ask, why did that happen? How could they be so tone deaf to think that some dumb blue square was going to do anything? Why are they positioning the Jew as this total victim walking through the hallways, and he's just being screamed at? He's the boy who's being mocked by everyone in the school, which is, nobody thinks that now, about Jews in America. Like, how could this be so tone deaf? And really the reason, and I'll get into this more in a second, is because the rooms in which propaganda is made are full of that woman that we just saw in the Danish film. Whether she's Danish or white or Asian or whatever she is, it doesn't really matter what her race is. That woman now dominates the marketing world. Everybody knows this. This isn't controversial. I'm not trying to make some sexist claim here because I'm not blaming this on women in any way. I'm just saying that type of person now runs the marketing world. And in the blue square situation, and Robert Kraft's NGO, whatever that is, whoever made that campaign, I guarantee you what happened was, it's a bunch of people making NGO money, meaning they don't really have a lot of accountability to deal with. So they don't actually have any real consequences for having bad ideas. They're all just blowing smoke up each other's asses. They're living in a mini, tiny little mini echo chamber where they all just agree with each other. And that's pretty much what their job is just agree each other and tell each other they're having good ideas. And there's never any real accountability. So they're completely cut off from the world at all. They have the money to do a Super Bowl ad, so they don't really have to worry about virality because it's a Super Bowl ad. What else do you want? And then there's no one there to say this idea is terrible. The same reason the blue square happens, the same reason bad Jewish or Israeli, whatever you want to call it, I'm going to say interchangeable here, but that's not really accurate, but it's too hard to explain right now. So bad, Jewish propaganda, which is that one is Jewish because it's about, actually like anti-Semitism. There's nobody there to say to them, this is stupid. This is really, really bad. It's the same as what happened with Alyssa Heinerschneid and the Bud Light can. It's the same thing that happened with Cracker Barrel. The same reason there's bad Jewish propaganda is the same reason there's bad everything propaganda. There's this separation going on between reality and the people making propaganda. And that causes such intense convulsions among the common people because it doesn't make any sense to us. How could somebody be so tone deaf as to put the transgender person on a Bud Light can? How can somebody be so tone deaf as to make Cracker Barrel a Chipotle, in terms of brand? It's people who it's bad propaganda. And since we live in a world in which impressions and projections and theatrics are more important than reality most of the time, because all of us live online and we all live in this world of projections, when you have bad propaganda, really bad propaganda emanating from various organizations, it has serious real world impacts, which is what happened to Bud Light. They went from the number one beer in America for many years to like the 7th. And I don't think they're still back. They've spent, billions of dollars trying to get back. Are they back? Maybe not. I don't know. But it doesn't matter. The damage is done. So what we're experiencing here on the right is, in my view, of course, I'm going to see it through this lens because this is what I do. But really, when I think about the fight that these two groups are having on the MAGA side, I see it as a propaganda failure more than anything else. And one side is so appalled by the propaganda because is the Iran war really affecting their lives yet? No, of course it's not, right? Their lives may be difficult for a lot of reasons. And sure, they can blame Zionists for that if they want. But what they're actually responding to is the propaganda. That's really what they're responding to online, right? They're not saying, and very few of them are saying, I can't afford gas. They're saying, look at this disgusting propaganda. That's what the people on the hardline side are saying. And then the people on the plan truster side are shilling bad propaganda. They're shilling not just propaganda, they're shilling very bad propaganda. So there's this propaganda problem between the two sides. That's really what I think the issue is. But before I get to that, let me just go through a few examples of bad propaganda to show what I mean here. Here would be, to understand why is one side shilling and one side not. First of all sides have propaganda. The Tucker Carlson side of things also has propaganda, is propaganda. And I don't use that word bad. It just means propagating the message. And propagating the message always is funded by someone, right? But on the one hand, one side of this thing, you have propaganda that has gotten so bad and so rotten. And this is sort of the anti-Semitism world, the pro-Israel world, the propaganda quality. I'm not saying I disagree with the propaganda, but the propaganda quality has gotten so bad. I'll show you probably the worst thing I've ever seen is this video. Let me show you. This is from some influencer girl, blonde influencer. Her name's Emily Austin. This came out a while ago, by the way. I don't even know when this came out, but and then a black guy named Xavier Durousseau. And they made this 49-second video. And I will show you this video. Genuinely The absolute fucking worst thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Oh, fuck. Did I not? God damn it. Did I fucking shit? Sorry. Hold on. I gotta fucking do this. My bad. 1 second. Hold on. Yeah. Sorry. 1 second. Okay. Again. Here we go. Excuse me. Sorry. I don't stream enough anymore, so I'm screwing everything up. But okay. Here it is. Please watch. Wait. Okay.
Imagine supporting people who start wars just to lose the wars so they can cry about it and then try it all again.
You must see anti-Semites are literally obsessed with Jews. Now walk with me. While you must see anti-Semites are stacking eviction notices, Jews are out here stacking up businesses.
Jews control all the industries. Maybe if you spent more time taking notes from successful people, you wouldn't have to spend your nights and weekends spreading hate from your anonymous account with an anime profile picture.
Do you work as hard as Jews? Do you network like Jews? No, because you're too busy cheering on a group of musty terrorists who smell like dirty earring backs. And if we're going to keep it real, you're really mad because your income is giving side hustle.
Period.
How you going to hate from outside, Shabbat? You can't even get in.
Okay, so that is like listening to that or watching that is like literally pouring scalding hot tar on my face. Like, it is genuinely the worst fucking thing in the world listening to that. And obviously, no person on earth would imagine that this is some sort of naturally occurring video. We all know that this was a shill campaign that was obviously paid for. These two people aren't sitting around just dreaming this up. You can also see, you can hear in the writing of it, you can hear that it's written. It's clunky, right? This isn't how these people talk. It's not how either of these influencers talk. This is written for them. Maybe they've modified it a little bit, but it's so fucking bad. It's like gayifying war and really serious issues, and also presenting Jews as bitchy, gay, high school people that you can't sit with while we're at war. I could not think of a worse approach to anything. I couldn't. It is genuinely the worst thing I've ever seen. I don't think if I had to say what is the worst piece of propaganda ever made, it would be this. I did see a sign this morning that said, if you're going too fast, if you're going too fast, you can't read this sign, which I thought was like the worst piece of propaganda ever. Because of course your audience, if they can't see it, they can't read it. But beyond that, this is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. There is nothing, it makes me ashamed to be everything. It makes me ashamed to be on the internet. It makes me ashamed to be Jewish. It makes me ashamed to be American. It makes me ashamed to be in branding. Everything about this is the worst fucking thing I've ever seen in my entire life. It is so un-American. It is so disgusting. Again, it's just torture. It is like literal. If you wanted to torture me, put me in a room and have me watch this video over and over again. It's just nakedly disgusting. It is nakedly shilling. If I was to see this and was not Jewish, I would say to myself, I am going to spend the rest of my life fighting against whoever made this fucking video because it is so offensively bad. And it's treating people like such little children. But what we have to remember here, what we have to say, this is not made. Actually, the problem with this is not, it is maliciousness, but it's like the trans can. Alyssa Heinerschneid, the person who made the trans can, right? She was not thinking, I want to fuck over everybody who drinks Bud Light. She was thinking, this is how the people in my world talk. And, this will go viral. Again, we're going back to the square, which we talked about in the beginning. This video has 3.5 million views because it's terrible. It's just like in the square example that we started with, the child, this is a child blowing up in a square. The child blowing up in the square has unlimited virality, but it's for the worst fucking reason. So unlike the blue square, whoever put this together, they're thinking, well, it got 3.5 million views. That's good, right? It's virality. Who cares? Who cares if people are mad? They got the message, and they don't realize that that's bad propaganda. It's bad. It doesn't help you. And all it does is drive people fucking insane because they're getting this thing sent to them. And then they're hearing, oh, no, they're not paid. They're not. Oh, this is just natural. And no one believes that. Nobody believes that at all. I mean, maybe the dumbest people on earth. And if you're going after the dumbest people on earth, you're going to get the dumbest people on earth on your side. That's what's going to end up happening. So I got another comment on Substack today with somebody tagging me in this post. Here, let's see what they said. They said, Isaac Simpson brought this on the podcast. He's one of the few people I've seen speaking out about it. So it's these Jew belong billboards. One of them says, you don't have to be Jewish to protect Jews. You just have to be a Christian. And then the other one says, does your church need armed guards? Our synagogue does. And it's in bright pink yet again, because everything has to be gay, right? Everything has to be kind of gay and feminine because that's how people talk online, right? And it's like, what this is, it's again like laziness and stupidity and incompetence is seen by the people who have to digest it as sinisterness. I also read this as sinister. I agree. The person commenting on the thing, this is the crap that gets people pissed off at Jews. Christians are tired of being lectured about what it means to be a Christian by those who are not Christian. And of course they're right. Of course they're entirely fucking right. These shrill pink billboards shrieking at the Christians as they go by. You don't know what it's like you need to be more Christian. Could you fucking imagine? Could you imagine a Christian billboard doing that to Jews? Like, I mean, I hate to do the either or thing here, but does this never cross the mind of the people making these things? As I've always said about Jew Belong, it has created 10 anti-Semites. It has actually never made anybody not anti-Semitic, but it's created many, many, many more millions of anti-Semites than it hasn't. And, you know, the response you get, again, it's like this... it's like the square. They're like, well, you paid attention to it, didn't you? You're talking about it, didn't you? You can't make people not hate Jews. They are going to hate you no matter what. All you can do is just get in their heads and, divide them from each other. Which is, by the way, exactly what's happening. It's exactly what is happening in the MAGA Civil War. So look, I have some other examples here of just really bad stuff that's along the same lines as this. There was all this marketing towards Christians, love the Jews, be more Christian, which is such a ridiculous argument because, look, every religion is chauvinistic. Every religion thinks it's the best. In order to be part of a religion, you have to think it's the best, and you have to think other religions are not as good, and you have to think people that are part of those other religions are not as good. Practicing that in America is what America is about. You got to be allowed to do that. Asking Christians to put Jews before Christians is simply never going to work, nor should it. Nor should that be the requirement. Nor should anyone have that expectation of another religion. Tolerance is tolerance. That's what America is. You tolerate the people next to you, but you might believe they burn in hell, which is what Christians believe, arguably about non-Christians. Jews might believe that non-Jews are some sort of lower soul or whatever it is. Muslims think, let's kill all of them. This is what being in a religion is part of. That's what it is. To have the expectation to speak to them like, you need to be more Christian to help me. It's not as malicious as it seems because it's just incompetent. It is the blue square. It's a bunch of people who have made so much money for so long and had no accountability. They had no touching of the outside world. It's the people who go watch Hamilton. It's the people like Alyssa Hinterschneid. They live in $8 million condos in the on the park. They only go to meet, they completely dominate their husbands. They only go to dinner parties with each other. They have no view outside of this completely disconnected world. So they think, oh, my gay besties talk like this. They get viral stuff all the time. Let's make our campaign like that, right? It's just incompetence. It's the same reason, again, that there is so much crap, terrible branding propaganda. It's the same reason the Nike ads now have wheelchair people in them, right? Why the hell are they doing that? I thought Nike's for your feet. I thought you run in Nike shoes. Isn't that what you do in Nike shoes? You run. Why the fuck are there wheelchair people in the fucking thing? This is it's the equivalent. But since there is larger things at stake than shoes, there's war at stake now. People are going fucking insane by this. This is driving people out of their fucking minds. And it is to blame for what we are calling the MAGA Civil War. So what is the MAGA Civil War? There's a great piece on it by the Old Glory Club. And the person who wrote that piece, who I want to have on this show, by the way, to talk about it. So somebody tell him. But the sort of upshot of that piece, or the way that it was being described, is there's two sides. This one side of the Civil War, the MAGA Civil War, which was dividing MAGA. A friend of mine, Yuri Bezmenov on Substack, said that, for the left, there was 10-7, which split them in two. And for the right, there was 2/28, which was the day of the Iran invasion. And that really has split MAGA in two. And I think that that's correct. I think that basically, I would agree with Dave Green that was kind of the end of what we knew as the MAGA movement. I'm still a Trump supporter, but I'm not a Trump supporter. Definitely. I'm certainly not going the Fuentes route, voting for Dems. That's truly insane. But I will say that was definitely the end of the beautiful dream that could have been MAGA, because it was just, it was too much, too far, too dangerous. It's still going on. I mean, I was against the bombing, so for the exact reason that it seemed like it would go too far and too long. Now, if this thing wraps up with no real casualties in the next short amount of time, I will 100% be wrong. I will be a panicking. I will eat my words, and I will say, and again, I'm not saying that that's not going to happen. I'm not making any guarantees. I'm just saying right now, and I do think it's still salvageable. If that does happen, if in the very near term, Trump manages to somehow get out of this with very, very little American casualties, and he sort of reorchestrates the global order, he gets ahead of China, there is a chance that this really could, all the people hating on Trump right now could look really dumb. But that doesn't change the fact that right now we're in this MAGA Civil War. And we're in the MAGA Civil War, again, not because of reality, but because of the propaganda. So what are the two sides of this thing that's going on right now? On the one hand, I'm saying this for normies, so I'm trying to, this podcast is for smart people who want to know what's going on. This is not, I don't want this podcast to be really too deep into inside baseball, so I'm trying to not refer to people too specifically. So the way that this guy who wrote this piece categorized the two tribes, I think, is very deft. One hand, you have the hardliners. So the hardliners would be described as people like Nick Fuentes, although he was always sort of one foot out, if not both. The Groyper side, the white supremacist side, not even just that, I don't mean to say that anybody who says this is a white supremacist. I don't mean that. But definitely the identitarian side of the MAGA movement, and the highly critical of Israel side of the MAGA movement, which is a completely reasonable position. Being critical of Israel is totally reasonable. Anybody who says that that's not is fucking insane. So, or any American who does. So on the one hand, you have this whole group, and I'm not going to say who's in it. I don't really care or even know, but they believe that the Iran war is more or less a function of Israel lobbying. It was done at the behest of Israel. It was pushed by them. It was kind of marionetted by them. And right now, about half of the MAGA sphere is similarly right now being puppeted by Israel money to shill the war, right? So again, this is actually really about propaganda at the end of the day. The thing that's pissing off the hardline side is actually that the MAGA influencers that they used to like are shilling things to them that don't make any sense. And what doesn't make sense about it? What doesn't make sense about it is that Trump was very openly American isolationist, and people will argue about this, but he seemed to say that we will definitely not go to war with Iran, right? He seemed to be the candidate who we all told ourselves this is not what he's going to do. He's going to put America first. He's going to not get entangled and lose American lives for sort of abstract foreign purposes, which certainly is Iran. I mean, he's going to say it's because of the nuke, yada, yada. In any case, look, the truth of it doesn't actually really matter. The thing is, Trump promised this. Trump promised that he was not going to get embroiled in these things, right? And then he did. And then he really did. And unfortunately, the sort of Groyper anti-Semite side, which is the hardliner side, not all of them, but they're on that side. They had been predicting this for a very long time. They'd been predicting and saying Trump is a Zio puppet. He's a puppet of Zion, and he is just going to get us into Iran war. He's not going to deport anybody. He's not going to do any of the stuff he said. He's just another person controlled entirely by Israel, and all that's going to ever get done is what's in Israel's interests. And what the hell does this have to do with America first? This has nothing to do with America first. Why are we attacking Iran? Why aren't we focusing on deporting more people? Why aren't we focusing on, Trump he's been saying, oh, we're only deporting the criminals. I'm not going to deport everybody. Why aren't we reforming H-1B? Why aren't we doing more to purge the left? What happened to the killers of Charlie Kirk? What happened to the people who tried to assassinate Trump? Why are we focusing on Iran, of all things? So that's what their point is, which I think there's a lot of validity in those points. I do not, however, actually believe the part that I'll say I'll disagree with them with is I absolutely do not believe that Trump is in Trump's mind. I don't think that, some of them will say that Trump, they have, the Epstein files. There's it's all compromise and he's being puppeted to that degree. I don't think that that's what's happening. I don't think Trump was waking up and thinking, oh, if only I could not be controlled by Israel. But I can't help it because I'm at their every mercy. That's not what's happening. So there's an actual reason that this is going on. Okay, so that's the one side. Those are called the hardliners. On the other side, you have the plan trusters. And the reason why people call them plan trusters is because, especially on foreign stuff, Trump has been right a lot. We thought he couldn't bomb Iran. He did. Nothing happened. We thought he couldn't go into Venezuela. He went into Venezuela. Nothing happened. Trump has shown, and you can't deny this at all, Trump has shown repeatedly that he is ahead of the curve on a lot. He is constantly thinking of things before other people. He does seem to have a kind of odd genius to the moves that he makes, at least so far. And he's right about policy a lot of times that other people don't understand. The USAID stuff was great, getting rid of that. He does seem to have really, really good instincts. So the plan trusters on their part say, look, there's more going on here than meets the eye. He's not being puppeted by Israel, even though, yes, of course, this Iran invasion was something Israel wanted for a very long time. And yes, of course, they will admit the Israeli lobby is very strong, et cetera, et cetera. But what's really going on here? It's not that simple. What's actually happening, I mean, some of them will say the real thing at play here is China. And what's actually happening is we are attempting to secure control over the Strait of Hormuz because China gets about 50% of its energy from the Strait of Hormuz. And Taiwan controls all the semiconductors literally in the world. So basically, Taiwan controls AI. So if Taiwan controls AI, China can easily invade Taiwan. And if they do that, and Iran still controls the Strait of Hormuz, which China has a good relationship with, America is no longer the number one power in the world. America then is the number two power in the world. So what a lot of people will very convincingly say is this is actually about that. This is actually about seizing control of the Strait of Hormuz from the Iranians. And that really Israel's kind of an afterthought. Yes, of course, Israel's been lobbying for this forever. And yes, of course, they want it. But that's kind of incidental. I mean, Israel has a lot of control over what goes on in the Middle East. So it's just sort of a mutual, like, okay, well, we have this opportunity now. Let's do it. And there's a lot of credence to that side of it. You know, there's a lot of credence to the people on that side saying those things. I can totally see both sides. The part that I cannot abide, and this is what makes me, and this is what this thing is really about. The part of me, you know, the part where I agree with the hardliners is the unbearable propaganda, the unbearable obvious shilling on one whole side of this. That's where the fracture comes in. The fracture doesn't actually, if you had good propaganda that said what I just said about, hey, this war is actually about this other thing. Or if you had even good Israeli propaganda where it wasn't destroying everybody who's ever criticized Israel. Instead, it was just an honorable march into war. All about honor, right? All about serving America, even. You know, if you just did that instead of talking like a shrill gay person, you would have really no problem. The problem is all these fucking MAGA influencers, or like half of them, who were completely against the Iran war and completely America first, suddenly, just the flip of a switch, turned on. Now they're suddenly pro-war with Iran. And it's fucking infuriating. It's fucking nonsensical. Because what does it look like and what is the truth of it? A lot of them are being paid propagandists, right? And look, I don't even fucking have look, would I ever take money to say something myself as if it was my opinion? No, I would never take money. And this does happen all the time. I would never personally take money to say a thing like the people in that horrible worst thing ever made video that I just showed. I would never take money to do that. But that's me, right? If other people, but think about all the people who work for think tanks that you know, all totally on the right and totally non-Jewish controlled think tanks, even on the hardliner side. Those people take money to show an opinion for a think tank that they work for. Of course they do. That's how the game kind of is played. I think it's gross to take money to say a certain talking point, which I think is part of the huge problem with the plan truster side is they issue, and I noticed that long ago, they get these talking points and they issue these talking points in this completely unbearable manner. And it's so obvious. It's just bad propaganda. It's not that it's propaganda. It's that it's fucking bad propaganda. And so that just it irritates the people on the other side so much because the people on the other side are like, we've been saying that these Israel shills are owning America this entire time. And now suddenly with the click of a button, everybody on the other side of us, or everybody that, you know, so many of these accounts that we trusted now suddenly their whole profile is about shilling the war in Iran and cracking down on anti-Semitism. So they're freaking out. And so both sides are completely fucked because on the one side, it's really the difference between the liar and the obsessed. On the one hand, you have a person shilling for money or simply being too stupid to make good propaganda or too lazy. And then on the other hand, you have somebody who can't see reality because all they can see is this lie, right? All they can see is these people lying to them. And so anti-Semitism gets in their head and it starts cranking the wheels to the point where that's all they can see. All they can see is Jews zapping messages into their minds, which is actually the opposite of what's happening, because if Jews were zapping messages into their mind, they wouldn't be so pissed. they would be brainwashed. But actually, very few people are brainwashed about this now. I mean, you could talk about the really dumb people. Yeah, sure, fine. But what they're experiencing is actually bad propaganda. It's just lazy, poorly done influencer marketing. That's basically what they're the victim of. So it's a bad situation, because you have on one, again, on the one side, there's people who are really are shilling, and then the other side, you have people who have been genuinely driven insane with hatred, and neither is good. Neither is a good place to be. And there's this rift in the middle, and you see the posts from some of these people who have decided that Jews are just to blame for absolutely everything, and they really think that every Jew, or at least vast overwhelming majority, is teaming up to attack them and take them down, and that everything that happens is compromised, and Trump is completely controlled by Israel, and every single person is just living in total fear of Jews. And it's like, when you start to see that everywhere, your entire worldview becomes about that. It becomes the answer to everything. It becomes every single fucking thing. It's like a fucking cramp in the side, man. It's all of your attention just goes to this one fucking thing, and you stop paying attention to anything else. And that's super dangerous. It's super dangerous for the individual, and it's super dangerous for the country, because again, it's like an immune reaction. An immune system is great because it prevents disease, but if the immune system goes too strong, it kills the host. And actually, when people die of stuff, it's more often the immune system than it is the actual disease itself. Disease takes a very long time to kill you, usually. But so it's this completely overreactive immune response where, I have people viewing, I'm sure, how many people view me? Oh, I'm somehow subverting. I am not subverting jack shit. I give it to you exactly 100% honestly. There's no compromise over here. Okay. And like I said, I would never take money to shill anything. So I am merely calling it as I see them. And I've tweeted people on both sides of this because I am calling it how I see them. That's what I do. I don't really present a position. I am here to give you the voice of somebody who is genuine and who's actually cares about this stuff and is not a shill one way or another. So, also I run a branding agency, so I shill all day openly. I mean, that's what a branding agency does. So it's like, I kind of have the luxury of like, I shill for people on behalf of themselves all day. You know what I mean? Like I don't need to in my own time make up something. But I will say to the people on the hardline side, there is no such thing as a pure voice. And you wouldn't want there to be. Did Michelangelo paint the fucking Sistine Chapel by himself? No, you need a patron. And everybody has a fucking patron. Tucker Carlson has a patron. Okay. So does everybody. Everybody has somebody who is influencing their framework. I mean, anybody who works for a think tank is shilling the talking points of the think tank. That's why I trust those people less than somebody like me, because I make my own money. I don't get paid for my opinions, and then some of these anti-Semites, it's total audience capture. The more, and same with the woke on the other side, and actually same with the Israel shells. The more they say the thing that the money wants to hear, the more they get paid. That's called audience capture. At the end of the day, I do have to say I have a big heart for the side of the hardliner. And the reason for that is because even more, deeper than any relationship to Israel, certainly, or to Jews, or I want to even say to America, right? I mean, I'm America first. I care about, my loyalty is to America first of those three groups, definitely. But even maybe deeper than all of that is, I mean, God first, right? But even beyond any of those, or, you know, God probably number one, and this kind of is saying God, right? What I'm about to say. There's this like truth buried in the heart of man that is simply against tyranny. That I think a man who thinks of himself as a good person has at the end of the day the belief that they will stand up to tyranny and that they will not be the type who, in a situation where a tyrant is genuinely taking advantage of people, genuinely lying en masse to control people, nobody wants to be on that side. Very, very, very few people think to themselves in the morning, I want to be on the side of Big Brother in Orwell, right? Very few people think that. I mean, we tend to believe that the people who have chosen that, the people who are receiving money to shill opinions, are corrupted in some way. But are those people truly poorly intentioned? It's tough to say. Or are they merely saying, probably in 90% of the instances, they're saying, I believe this anyway, why not get paid? You know, that's probably what they're thinking. But I think the thing that the plan truster side needs to understand, and it's very important to be a plan truster. It is very important. Yeah, on the football team, you don't want to question when the quarterback's in the middle of a difficult play. I totally get that. And you do want to have some level of sheer commitment and loyalty to what's happening in that moment and to support Trump or support whoever, even if things are seeming like what's going on. Of course, there's some degree of that. But the desire to stand up against tyranny or lies or corruption, that's so much deeper, that in the soul of everybody. And that's why America wins. That's why America took over the world, because America told the story that we're the guys who stand up to tyranny. We're the guys who stand up to Big Brother. We've been with us since George Washington. This is the dream that America gives to people, that here you will not be controlled. You'll not be controlled by some Soviet propaganda regime where you have to, your entire worth is how much you suck up, how well you toe the party line, which is completely imaginary. There is something in the soul of human beings that the way we get through the day is believing that that's not what we are. And I have that really, really in me a lot. So when I see this video that I shared, it enrages me. It enrages me just like it does people on the plan trusting side, just like it does a Groyper. I completely get it. And I think in order to get over this, I mean, look, I don't have a solution. I don't know what the fucking way through this is. I'm not going to pretend that I do. I'm merely sort of describing both sides of this. But I have to say that it's the job of the propagandist, it's the job of the propagandizer to create messages and to create propaganda that genuinely inspires. And to genuinely inspire, it needs truth. It needs to not be shrill and pink and gay and accusatory and mean and nasty. It needs to have a shared vision that everybody can get behind. And it needs to not be brazenly corrupt. It needs to not be brazenly, one day this guy was anti-war Iran, and the next day he's not. Whoops. And then, by the way, he just happens to show for Israel all the time. Yes, suddenly Laura Loomer et al. Have all been magically, suddenly shilling for India. And why this is, nobody knows. Or it's, something about some connection between Israel and India. But the problem is not that Laura Loomer shills for India. The problem is one day, Laura Lerner and about 10 other people start magically posting shallow shit about how good India is. There's a picture of Laura Loomer like smiling, being like, travel the world amazingly in front of the Taj Mahal. Suddenly she's posting about this 10 times a day. The see-throughness of that, and also everybody in her little like group, all the people around her also posting similar things. The shallowness of that. I can't believe people think that that's a good idea. And I think the reason why they think it's a good idea is, again, because of the virality. They have a number they can point to, and they can say, look, we paid Laura Loomer this much money, or however it works, and she got 3.5 million impressions on this view. 3.5 million impressions for a pro-India support post. And that's why the shallowness and the stupidity of this propaganda is sort of allowed to run. And I think that is what needs to be addressed and thought about by the sides of the propagandizer. The difference is not between propagandizing and not. The difference is between bad and good propaganda. Ask Bud Light. Ask Bud Light, which happens for the same reason. It happens for the same reason of blind stupidity and incompetence on the part of the people making the propaganda. Okay, that's it for me. Hopefully we'll have Oren on tomorrow, and see you later.